What's up, people? This is part two of my tier list for all the MCU Phase 4 projects, all the movies and Disney Plus shows. So, part one is up there, I believe. Pointing in the right place, right? But, yeah. So, part one, of course, included all the stuff that came out in 2021. This is the same list from uh, a few months ago. Like, I think I did this back in January. And now I mean, I have changed a couple spots here and there because I just changed my mind on a couple of them, but not like too drastic. So now we have 2022 with everything else where Phase 4 is now officially done, and this is everything else. So Phase 5 will begin next year with Ant Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Secret Invasion. So that's gonna be pretty interesting. But anyway, so I want to do a tier list of all the MCU stuff that came out in 2022, which is going to put them in the order they came out. So, general overall thoughts to start off. I haven't hated everything that's come out. Like, there have been a lot of videos talking about how, oh, Phase 4 sucks and, like, it's not as good as the Infinity Saga. And I'm like, I agree, but I also disagree. I don't think it's bad. In fact, there's only really one thing I can think of that's actually bad. So I'm actually a little bit more positive. But I do acknowledge some problems. Yeah, Phase 4 has a lot of everything feels pretty disconnected. It's like these are all just a bunch of random stories happening, like origin stories of these characters, and then continuing the story of these characters, and they don't really. Some of them don't connect to each other, so it does have that feeling of like it is pretty annoying to me. Like, why do I need to watch this again? Like, oh, we'll find out later that this is actually important. So, although yes, Phase 4 is flawed, I don't hate it, and in fact, I've been enjoying a lot of their stuff. But yes, some of them haven't been as good, as you can tell by this. Some of them haven't been as good, and like Black Widow and Eternals were both huge disappointments. And Hawkeye and What If were again really enjoyable, but not something to write home about. So yeah, moving on to with all that preamble out of the way, we're moving on to 2022, and um, so let's start with the movies. We're just gonna go ahead and do that. So we have three movies this year, starting with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So here's the thing about this one. I like it, but it more than I dislike it. That's the best way to put it. So it's one of those movies where when I first saw it, I really, really liked it. Just like part of it was the Sam Raimi visuals and the more horror aspect of it. It felt so fresh. And it's like this is a horror movie, and I'm like I'm into it. And again, Sam Raimi's directing made it feel so unique. And Scarlet Witch is all evil, and like the cameos were really cool. I was like, darn, this is exciting. But yeah, then when I sat down and thought about it, and then I watched it again later, it's not that good. Like, there are definitely some plot issues. Like, there's some, maybe not plot holes. I hate using that word because I feel like people overuse it, but there are definitely some issues that people have noted. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I can agree with that. Like Mr. Fantastic, like flat out telling Wanda how Black Bolt's powers work, and then that allows Black Bolt to be killed by her. And I also noticed they do seem to struggle with making Scarlet Witch both a psychotic killing machine while also making her a sympathetic character that you're supposed to care about or like at least understand where she's coming from. And it's kind of like they failed to balance that. So, although I don't think Multiverse of Madness is bad, I don't think it's good either. And I'll put in decent. Yeah, it's better than What If and Hawkeye for me. Again, I really enjoyed it, and I'd gladly see it again. But yeah, it's definitely not as good as it could have been. And like compared to No Way Home with the whole multiverse thing, I'm like, No Way Home did it better. And even then, there were definitely some questions to ask, but that's a whole other can of worms. So the next movie is Thor: Love and Thunder. So I'm a little weirded out with this movie when it comes to the internet discourse, like the opinion the internet has brought on this, because the way I've seen YouTube videos, like their thumbnails and their titles, like the way they treat this movie, they treat it like so harshly. Like the way, like you think this movie killed their grandma or something? Because I'm just thinking, jeez, what did this movie do to make you guys so mad? Like, no, it's not good. I watched it again and I was like, no, it's not that good. Where would I put it? I know it's indecent. Um, Actually, maybe it's in last place for decent, but yeah. Again, yeah, it's not good. There are definitely some problems with Love and Thunder. Like, well, first off, we have Korg being the narrator, which is like I loved the Korg in Ragnarok, and I loved him in Endgame, but I feel like they overdid him in this, where I was like, okay, he's not even that funny anymore. And the the goats too with the screaming when they first popped up, I laughed like, oh, isn't that funny? But then they kept coming back, and like they were like pulling the thing. They kept coming back, like kept screaming, and I was like, oh, they're in the whole movie. Like, okay, you guys, it's not as funny anymore because that's the thing with this movie. Like, the comedy is so overdone to the point where it's not even funny anymore. Or and I'd say another problem with this movie is gore. Like, whenever gore isn't on screen, it's a comedy, but whenever gore is on screen, it's suddenly a much more serious movie, and it fails to like balance the two tones. Um, I would say the opening scene though, where you see Gore praying to that one god, and like he's like he's out with his daughter, like, hey, help us, and then he finds out that God is a jerk, and so he kills him. It's like that whole scene is brilliant. I'm just like, I feel bad for him. I understand where he's coming from. I kind of want to root for him to kill all those gods. I kind of like that was a great scene. Too bad the rest of the movie isn't like that. And then you have what else do you have? Oh, and the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 were in this, but then they like disappeared like 20 minutes in. And okay, another good scene though, I actually really like, is a scene where Gore resurrects his daughter and Jane dies. Like it's all sad. Like I felt that. Like maybe it wasn't handled the best, and like the build up to that wasn't very good, but I still felt the emotions I was supposed to be feeling. So yeah. So yeah, Love and Thunder is definitely a flawed movie. Out of the Thor movies, I would say it's more enjoyable than Dark World, but Dark World is a better movie overall. But I don't hate this movie like a lot of people do. And I'm still weirded out like why this movie made so many people mad, but let's just let that go for now. And then the third movie is Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I've only seen, it just came out in theaters, so I've only seen it once. But as of right now, this movie is spectacular, and I'll put it in great. Hey, man, Ryan Coogler was given an impossible task, like with Chadwick Boseman dying. Like, it's like, how are you gonna make another movie without him? Like, you can tell they were struggling to figure out how to make it right, and in my opinion, I think it worked really well. Maybe not as good as it could have been. Like, out of all of Ryan Coogler's movies, it is definitely my least favorite. But I still had a really good time with it. Like, it definitely took itself a lot more seriously too. Not as much comedy, and the little comedy there is feels natural, I would say. Like Shuri becoming a Black Panther. Like a lot of people said that she wasn't that good as Black Panther, but I don't know. I found myself rooting for her, or like when she eventually did. I was like, yeah. And Namor was pretty interesting too, and I mean, there are some people who have pointed out the plot is a little messy, and I guess when I do think about it, I can definitely see that. Like Ironheart feels a little unnecessary, and what else? I mean, not much else. That's the only one I can think of. But yeah, not much else I can think of negatively because whenever I think of this movie, I do think of the emotional impact it had on me, and easily the best movie from 2022, better than the other two that came out. So with that, we move on to the Disney Plus shows. Those which we only have three, surprisingly. So let's start with Moon Knight, obviously. Moon Knight was a surprise, as in it was actually really, really good. I'll put it in great. I was surprised how much I loved the Moon Knight, man. Just and like it's got Oscar Isaac as the main character, who I haven't seen him in much. Like obviously I've seen him in Star Wars and X-Men and and I know Oscar Isaac is a really good actor, but it's like he's been in some pretty bad movies, like those movies I mentioned. Not only is this really good, but his performance is just insane. Like, just he's talking to himself half the time, and it's believable. Like, well, I think part of it had to do with the fact that some of the time he was actually talking to his brother, which helped, and just the whole. This is one of Marvel's darkest projects too. Like, it deals with like child abuse at one point, and like Mark Spector creating what's his name, Stephen Grant, to like hide from his abusive mother. It's like it goes into some pretty dark points. And it's not too violent like Daredevil, but it's like it got some pretty violent moments, and like, similar to Multiverse of Madness, it was pretty refreshing how dark it was. As um and yeah, not much else I can think of. Just I'll just say uh, one more thing I'll say is that by the time it was over, I want to see more. Like the credits scene teased Jake Lockley as the third personality, and I'm like, crap! I want to see more of this. Like, I hope Moon Knight comes back, and whether it be a season 2 or like an Avengers movie, I want to see more of him. Um, so that's a good sign, I'd say. The next one is Miss Marvel, which I'll put in good. So with I'd say the biggest problem with Miss Marvel is when it came out. And this show came out while Obi-Wan Kenobi was going on. And while that show was going, I only saw the first episode, but I was so into like trying to I want to say enjoying. No, I was enjoying Kenobi. I was like trying to wrap my head around what was going on in that show. Oh, that Miss Marvel wasn't really at the top of my head. I just didn't care about it. So I saw the first episode, and then I just didn't bother watching the rest. I just waited until all the episodes came out to when I was finally like, I'll watch it after all the episodes came out, and I finally did. Is it good? Well, I just asked that, even though you can see it's in the good tier. But yes, it is good. Yeah. Yeah. So I've seen a lot of people say that it's one of those shows where it's clearly not made for a specific person. It's made for the younger audience, like young girls and all that. But I still found myself having a good time. Like Kamala's relationship with her family is interesting, and what else is there? Oh man, I can't. Um, Oh, and the style too. Something else too. The style I noticed in like the first couple episodes with with drawing around, like similar to Moon Knight. It's like it felt unique. It's not just it's another Marvel hero, and there's not much else I can think of. I am gonna watch it again eventually, but yes, I do think Miss Marvel's pretty good. It's just that the timing of when it came out is was really really poor. And then we have She-Hulk Attorney at Law, which I also did a video on this. It's which up there. But yeah, if if you saw that video, then you know that She-Hulk Attorney at Law is the only MCU thing I genuinely think is bad, and it's in the bad tier. Man, this show was surprisingly awful. Like man, just just thinking about it is making me go, "Oh my gosh, this actually exists." Like the biggest problem I think this show suffered from is being way too meta. Like I like meta humor, yes, Emperor's New Groove, Deadpool. It's like those are meta movies with like self-aware movies that I enjoyed, but I didn't realize it until watching this. Like, oh wait, like there is a line with self-awareness and this show crosses it by literally having in the finale having She-Hulk literally leave the Disney Plus menu and go into the writer's room and change the script and like change the ending to her show. Like I didn't realize there was a line with self-aware humor, but it's like, no, this is too far. Like the fact that this exists in the MCU makes it worse because just the fact that she can apparently do this, it's like, see, like it makes the rest of the MCU feel pointless or meaningless is a better word, I'd say. Like, just thinking about it is annoying, and and just a lot of jokes too are just cringeworthy, and like her twerking too, that was just cringe, and the CGI is awful, and there's so much bad in this, and just the plot too, like there's like no overarching plot. It's just kind of She-Hulk just hanging around, just doing stuff. It's like, where's the story? And it's the only MCU thing where I've only seen once, and I don't want to watch it ever again. I'm never seeing it except episode 8, which is the episode where Daredevil comes in and fights some bad guys. That is the only episode I am willing to go, yeah, I'll watch that again, because Daredevil was actually handled pretty well in that. And like, I mean, he's obviously a lot lighter compared to his show, but it's like, but no, I still smiled like when he was fighting and with his back and forth with She-Hulk. I was like, oh, it's actually pretty enjoyable. But yeah, other than that, I'm not watching the rest of this ever again. Just it's really bad. So that's all the Disney Plus shows. Now we have the two specials, which are not even an hour long. And I want more of these too, because I, like I, just these random stories that don't need to be too long and can just be stories that can just be set in the MCU. It could just tell a story. I think we need more of these because both of these I think are really good. Werewolf by Night I would put in good. Yeah. I don't love it like a lot of people do, but I definitely respect it a lot because again, similar to stuff like Multiverse of Madness and Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night has a very unique tone and style to it. Like being a um, being a homage like old school horror movies, the black and white screen and the old school special effects. Like more practical effects, like the violence too. I don't think like somehow the fact that it's black and white, they can get away with some violence where I'm like, how is this not R rated? Like I don't know how they could get away with that, but they somehow can. But yeah, not much else to say. It's a fun, short, and a lot of other people have pointed out how good it is. So I don't really have much else to say. And finally, we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which, in my personal opinion, is the best Marvel thing to come out of 2022. Not quite as good as No Way Home, but it's up here and great. This was amazing, man. Well, maybe amazing is a bit strong of a word, but yeah, great. It's great, man. And like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are really good, and it's just amazing seeing James Gunn back to direct these characters after they were after their disappointing appearance in Love and Thunder. Like, yay, we got more of them, and like it's a more of a fun story. Just like, oh, we're just gonna kidnap Kevin Bacon and just to give him as a present to Peter Quill. Like, okay, that's already silly, really, but there is still heart under it. Like when Kraglin like explains to Kevin why, like what he meant to Peter Quill, like how he inspired Quill to be a hero, and like Mantis talking to Peter about how she wanted to make it up to him after some of the bad stuff that's happened with Ego and all that. Like there's although this is a fun short and it's not meant to be taken that seriously, there is definitely some heart under there that makes me feel. So just yeah, it's really good, guys, and it makes me even more excited for Volume 3. So this video is a lot shorter than I thought, but yeah, not much else I can think of. Just so that's my tier list for all of Phase 4. Or um, so again, it's not perfect, and it definitely isn't as good as the Infinity Saga, but again, I still enjoy it. There are 7 things I would almost put an S tier as good as the Infinity Saga. So like, there's plenty of stuff to enjoy, as well as some other stuff that isn't as good, but I don't hate it like a lot of people do. Oh, and I'm decently looking forward to Phase 5. I'm definitely excited for Guardians 3, and the rest of the stuff they have. I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty cool. Like Daredevil Born Again, sure, I'm looking forward to that. And what else? The Marvels, I think, because what Miss Marvel is setting up, and Captain America: New World Order. I'm also really excited for that one. So there's some stuff I'm still excited for. Though, yes, expectations are a little lowered, but I'm not giving up on the MCU just yet. They haven't lost my attention, and so yeah, not much else to say. That is the tier list, and yeah, so